Brad told me
Hey there,
that
I'm
there
Michael
was no
Kraus.
hot
Elroy
water
Hill.
there.
Elroy Hill, how are you?
Pretty damn good.
I could.
Life's too short not to be good.
Gotta enjoy each and every day.
If you do,
Mary Ann says something.
get up with a smile, you're done with a smile, the whole world smiles with you.
Tuesday evening.
I used to tell my children, if they get up in the morning and they work, I smile.
Yeah,
I know,
substantial.
yeah, she was concerned about
Smile goes a long way.
Yes, it does.
because
Thanks the Lord.
only cold water was
Each
going
and every
in.
day.
I'll sign it. On your recommendations only.
Trying to heat it up and get the temperature is supposed to be at.
Okay.
Yes. I can go
Go
check it.
check, I know, I was just gonna say, I could go turn on the water and see if it gets hot. Jeff, have you heard anything about issues with hot water in the kitchen here?
In the where?
In the kitchen?
I have none.
My kid was volunteering at the, celebration on Saturday and said there was no hot water here, so I,
Oh, really?
I was, yeah, I asked John if he knew about it, he's going to test it.
Okay, thanks.
I gave the old guy a ride back up my old car today.
Yeah.
Just before he got out, he said, you can leave the keys, you walk home.
Oh, how generous.
Give me a copy of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Whose pretty little white car is that? That little sports car?
Mine.
God,
It's
that's
one of
pretty.
Elroy's about 20 automobiles.
Really pretty. Looks like it fell off the
The hot water
Christmas
is
tree.
shut off,
It's 20 years
Shut
old.
off.
yes,
It's a pretty car.
so there's no
20 years
water
old.
coming out of the hot
What
water.
is it?
Mitsubishi.
Pretty.
Now the question is it shut off for a reason? Probably.
I think it was related to some work they were doing on the circulator, and they just didn't turn it back.
It might just need to be turned back on.
Yeah.
That's
they
all,
just didn't
okay,
do it.
well, that's simple. Unless it's off, cause
Yeah, it was related to that.
There you go.
You go to that seminar on the ordinances? And all that?
No, I was going to go and then I didn't go.
Oh, dear.
Well,
has it happened? I know it was this week.
I'm sorry that I didn't go because I thought it would be important.
Uh,
Did anybody else go?
I thought it hasn't happened yet.
He says it hasn't, she,
I don't know.
I
signed
thought
you
it
up
was
for
until
but
this
I don't know.
Thursday.
Yeah,
okay, okay, because I was gonna go.
I'd been looking at it like, oh, maybe I should.
Yeah,
Current topic of discussion, why not?
Yeah.
If you have time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a long one though, I think.
it was,
It's like.
it's a long one, but, you
an
know,
hour, couple hours, something like
Hours
that.
not bad.
No, an hour's not bad. It was more than an hour, that's why.
it's a couple hours.
I'm
but
trying to remember what it was,
I,
9
You know, you can tune in and do your handwork or whatever.
Yeah, it's just more a matter of if I'll even be.
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
Shirley,
Yeah.
where's Shirley?
Well, say farmers are.
Yeah, he's supposed to be here at 6 o'clock next time, right?
We talked about it at length, so,
What's that?
about
The next
This
meeting
next meeting
company
being
at
at
6
6.
o'clock.
and farmer's market.
Not as key.
No,
Now, why is it showing up backwards? Because on the recording, it's fine. I don't know why it's showing
Yeah.
up backwards there.
That's weird. I've never seen it like that.
It was like that last time. Then I checked recording. Recording was fine. But, I don't know. Yep, it's Gerald.
Gerard,
Gerard, Mr. LeBarman.
yes, Lavon. It's very particular.
Yeah, we just put these in.
Yeah.
You gotta be quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going.
Use the settings without them, and so that little program. 15,000 for all the storage in it. They get you, don't I know? Yeah. Yeah.
So you get your thing there, and their packets. All that.
Few extra copies too.
You want to elevate that?
This looks promising, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Anyone else had one, I believe? Letters.
Yeah, they got your packet of material. Yep, thanks.
Hey, you got an email from Charlie. It just might be the wrong way.
About to dart in.
Here or online?
Oh, who's on?
Sure, the hard way.
It is amazing when you think about it.
It being 7 o'clock and we do have a quorum of the select board. I anticipate Charlie to be attending this evening. Would you all join us in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is there any need to adjust the agenda?
No need to adjust the agenda.
Public participation scheduled. Ron Lyon is here representing Norwich University to talk about a town road discontinuance request. Ron?
Thank you. Bijan is coming too. Maybe in a few.
He's late. Gonna have to walk tours.
That'd be kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, well, we have a colonel here. He'll make sure it happens.
I'll tell you what, that's like a colonel in the crowd. It's not the generals were good, but the colonels want to get
No,
things.
they're the ones that get things done.
Well, thank you much. Good to be here tonight. Appreciate your time. And the discontinuance, I think, probably is pretty straightforward as far as what Norwich is looking for. And it's been talked about for many years on Park Avenue that runs along in front of the green, Center Green, and the University Drive. So in the past, sections of those roads have been discontinued, and especially University Drive from Park Avenue West and Park Avenue from University Drive North, whole section. So those have turned into trails and are taken off the town rolls as roads. So the next step was this whole CFC facility that we're looking at Norwich. It's always been talked about, what do you do with the southern entrance and what now is the main entrance to Norwich? And University Avenue is a main entrance to Norwich at this point. University Avenue and University Drive and Park Avenue really are used almost exclusively by Norwich. There's one abutment on the north of town center park, which is important, and to maintain access to that. But otherwise, Norwich really is, they're the only people that can really use that roadway, I believe. There's two or three businesses that were on over the years that were no longer there, and displaced by Norwich facilities. So on this, kind of like I'm just referring to there in the handout, an ortho photo. And I think probably all are familiar more with this, just because of the CFC building. This shows, the ortho photo shows Park Avenue in front of it, the communication building and has a house around there now. And then it shows the dark lines under that, basically where the CFC building would be. So Hassett House and Park Avenue are going to be demolished. Or Hassett House and communication buildings will be demolished, and the new CFC building will be going there. And that's moving along quite well. We're close to getting our Act 250 permits and our federal permits, and the documentation. The designs are 100% DDs are complete. So things are moving pretty well for hopefully a fall construction start. What this ties into that, the initial discussions, lots of discussions in the master planning for the university, and the master planning for this building site, where what do we do for the south entrance to Norwich? We've got a little dog leg from University Avenue that comes off and kind of dog legs to the north and then back into University Drive and Norwich property. And that really does something that should at some point be straightened out. So the talk was to come to the town and talk about the discontinuance of that. And then it was Park Avenue. This is, there always been plans for the green itself in front of Park Avenue. And really look at that southern access into town and the southern access to Norwich and say, where's that going to go into the future? The CFC facility can be built without this discontinuance. But it does present some opportunities if we did get the discontinuance over the next year and a half, may come and ask for some modifications for landscaping and just to enhance the park itself. Also, just into the future, looking at the park itself, what does that look like? And what does University Drive look like tying into the Norwich campus? So it's not lots of things that was important to the university going forward, not only in the near future, but possibly in the next 1 or 2 years plans. Of course, anything that we've done except for CBC would have to come back to the town anyway. Some of the things that we are concerned about looking at, there are 2 utilities in that regular town utilities, and drainage and a force main. And we look at being sure the town would have easements for those utilities to continue for maintenance. The parking and access to the town park or Center Park was real critical to the north of University. That's well developed and has a lot of memorial in it and requires parking and access to the public. So that even though University Avenue would be discontinued under that discontinuance, access and parking would still be provided. We need to work that through the town to be sure it's acceptable. That's some of the kind of the big picture. I think is just really planning that area to say what coming up Route 12 into the future with the new building, what kind of modifications of that. There's possible shifting it over, possible doing a different configuration or new sidewalks or something just to dress up Park Avenue. Would make it just a better entry to the campus and to Northfield. So that was why kind of this was preliminary kind of planning thinking to say we may be sitting here 6 months from now saying in the spring of next year, we wish we could do this on Park Avenue or that. Or some trees in the park or something. This would allow us to talk to you about that more, I guess more facilitate that type of thing. Well, let's see if I missed anything. All right, other utilities. There's lots of, these roads are pretty minor, of course, 0.08 miles for the Park Avenue and 0.03 miles for the University Drive. It would be, as shown on this map. This map shows the actual right of way from the tax map showing Park Avenue and University Drive. That's the.
The section that we're talking about, though, is just this first part, right?
Oh, he's talking about Park Avenue.
Park Avenue and
University.
the entry, yeah,
That's University.
yeah. But most of it's already theirs, right? It's just the,
Yeah, and I think the Park Avenue coming in, or the University Avenue coming in, shows where it was cut off previously and discontinued to the
Yeah.
north and the west. That seems to be working out well for the town and the park. So that shows that then tying in the southern end, that I think we're in good shape. Everything is not a little strange intersection with the two one-way intersection. There's a lots of thought that put into that. What does the town do with that? And it was back in 1988. It was gee, what do we want there? That was configured that way with some thoughts of why do we really need that type of intersection and that type of roadway going into there at that time. That was a good solution to get people one way back onto Route 12 south. In the present time, there are no plans to eliminate traffic on Park Avenue. So in the future, maybe maybe it's something that the traffic patterns will change somewhat. But right now, it's a good access for Norwich. It's a good access to move people out of the campus during events. So you have some value to that roadway system from Norwich's standpoint for their operation. And then next to the last page, we have the town highway map, the state highway map showing town highways. That is,
I don't have that one. I have a smaller version of it.
oh, you
For a large.
gave you one that is
Yeah.
basically possible to read.
Exactly. Useless.
On that, there's a inset tree, and did you all get the small ones?
No.
we all got the,
Oh, I did this.
We got the little tiny thing.
Yeah, must be something we didn't.
Yeah, we didn't,
Like
we didn't get the smaller
okay,
one.
Unless,
sorry, that's,
that's on, insert three of that, it basically just shows the, two highways is noted on the plans on the state of Vermont, or management of town highways, or class 3 town highways. Yeah, let me see, now some of them, I did the right thing on some of them. And that, yeah, you can see that,
Did you get an extra one of these? Got it. Yeah.
I think you just, Charlie. Ron, do you have an extra one of those?
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Here, take mine.
yeah, I'm trying to get,
Just
Orange.
Charlie would like one.
okay, it's where 12 and 12A come in.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's the one you have to look for, then
You get the whole
read
packet?
back from that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
All right, thanks.
Well, Ron, what is that map telling us? Just that the two streets are on the state highway map We know that because we have to sign off on it every year.
Yes, that's
Okay.
pretty much all it is the length and the number and just almost for just a few details on how long they are. So,
Sure.
anyone else need that? I did have some more copies. Oh, no. This is not a real eye test. Trust me, I can't read that little one either. It works good when you send it to somebody.
It's okay, I got this one here. Thank you for trying to help me.
Yeah, so that just shows the, aspects of which what the state has for that highway designation, last 3 highways. And it shows those, the little dotted line is where it was previously discontinued.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting that at that time it was a fairly large discontinuance for that whole system.
Okay.
I think that's kind of everything I had to start with.
So we'll open it up to questions from the board.
Great.
Charlie?
Thanks, Dave. Ron, the utility easement was something we talked about before, and I see, but I can't read because of the size of the image. Do we have utilities in Park Avenue?
Yes, the utilities, the main utility in Park Avenue is a force main that runs up from the south.
Forced main sewer?
Yeah. Yep, and that would be something that would certainly have to have an easement for
Right?
maintenance operation. And then there's a drainage system that goes and discharges a fairly large 24-inch pipe, I think, from the town park, Center Park, to the south. So I think those are the two things, that there's some public utilities in there for power supply. And we really don't have all the details on those tonight to talk about. But I think the main one was the force main, which certainly have to stay in there, and drainage. And the rest of them would be public utilities for the electric department. We need to coordinate really with the town manager on the details of those utilities and just be sure we don't miss any.
Make sure that the easements are right so we have access to them. With this project, are you going to increase the impermeable soils from what they are today?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to increase impermeable soils? Are you going to put pavement down on green spots where there is none now?
My guess is that if anything, they'll be reduced.
The impermeable soils will be reduced.
We're putting more pervious soils as opposed to pavement. So it'd be, or pervious areas, so it'd be grassed areas, so I could see some of the discussions were, and this is kind of future planning, but some of the discussions were to cut down the width of that road and make it more, I think, a larger green area. And then to the down more landscaping. That's something that I don't think we'd want to see any reason to increase the impervious paved areas.
Okay, because there's discussion about the amount of drainage that comes from that area going down Route 12A that we're going to be discussing later on tonight. And so if you're increasing the permeable soils, even though we don't know what that means in quantity, but that's material for discussion for later on tonight.
And it wasn't, I think, when we looked at previously on some improvements over in the maintenance area, North put in some pretty major infiltration to be sure they didn't increase flow down to the south of that line.
Okay,
Just to be sure that it didn't cause any problems along Route 12A.
okay, and so any property that Norwich acquires after 1942 becomes taxable. We know that, right?
I really guess I don't know that, and I'm sure Norwich knows that.
Well, we want to make sure that everybody understands that, you know, when Norwich picks up property after 1942, that goes on the tax roll. So that, I don't imagine this strip of land is going to be a budget maker, but it is going to go on the tax rolls, and I want to make sure everybody understands that.
Good point.
In fact, I'm sorry Bijan isn't here, he probably knows that, but I'll be sure that we,
Should just be aware, because it's a thing, and, so if we decide to have a site visit, I would like to have a schematic of where the utilities are and the proposed easements associated with this.
hey,
And other than that, I have nothing.
Mary,
I have nothing. I'm sorry to see Hassett House go. I said that before.
yeah. John?
Well, you want us to give up Park Avenue and part of University Drive. What are you going to do with it? I
yeah,
can't figure out what's going on with the first drawing, which shows assorted property lines and includes part of Route 12 south. So I don't know what's going on.
yeah, that's a good question, because initially what we were looking at is, if you look at the Northfield photo, University Drive comes in straight into the little old townhouse building, so, and then it's a big dog leg to the north and then to the west again. And the intent was, in several projects, like several projects you're looking at, is align that more closely across Park Avenue and not getting into the park. And I think that's something that they just absolutely understand. The park should not be touched. But we designed the site for the proposed facility is a little dark line. This shows the existing buildings, but the northerly building on the communication building is into that. The new building will be moved to the south. So we'll have almost a straight shot from University Drive past the new CFC building. So that'll be something that, if you do that, you want to have the ability to redefine to some extent University Drive, the first section of it. So that would be one thing that hopefully, I don't know, next year, 5 years, depends on, it's not in the budget now, and it's not in the federal grant now. So I think that's kind of a long-range plan. But the building, new building will not block the ability to get very close to a straight entry to that. And I don't know whether, John, that's so this is where our new building is,
Right.
and this is where the old one is. So University Drive, it will come like this in the future.
So these sidewalks and pedestrian areas
Yes.
wouldn't be there?
You'd still have the sidewalks and pedestrians along that face.
Well, that building is going away. And these little lines here, I think are sidewalks right now,
So,
right?
Brian, this building is out,
Right, that one will be
Gonzo.
a little,
I understand now completely.
Yeah, and like, because they have the layer of what exists, and then there's this faint line that's the site plan for the new building. So I think this is like a patio area, maybe here.
yeah, probably.
And so I was just trying to figure out if the road, if that wouldn't be built if you're doing this stuff with the road.
I think what would happen, and this goes back to maybe a question of funding and timing and everything
Yeah.
else, but the master plan shows some development of this area, the maintenance building into the future. It's one of those 6 or 8 places on campus you can put in more academic buildings. And so when that happens, this road would want to be lined up more.
Yeah.
So that may tie in to this area here may change.
Yeah.
As part of that, when the road goes over 10 feet or something, but you still have to have pedestrian circulation.
Well, yeah.
So that's one of the key things I think that they were looking at is,
Yeah.
you know, what will happen there.
And then John, were you asking about this little jag here?
Yes.
And that's what, why this
Oh, the
part
little,
goes out
yeah, the
into,
little jag was originally, like, sorry for this, is an older plan that thought we had to tie into the water main across the road. So we don't have to do that. That was just planning submittal to the
yeah.
town that.
That doesn't have to do with the road discontinuance
Right.
conversation.
And there's a little work in the green now tied in utilities to both water and sewer. More of this across the road is nothing. And the green's gonna look the same at the end of the project. You'll see that? It's hard to explain. So this road coming down, this is the new building.
That was one thing I was following on from last meeting to this one. It's not where they were gonna shoot it.
In the future,
Yeah.
this may be realigned.
Because I do remember a jut, and I see.
Still respect on the park, because
Yeah.
one of the things the park does not get touched or any.
Questions, John?
No, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Lydia?
Yeah, I'm sorry for the small, that isn't the best.
What are you going to do about this intersection here?
Yeah, so this,
So can we all understand what you're pointing to?
Do you need both the outlets there or just the one?
Both the outlets.
Yeah, at the end of Park Ave, going towards 12A.
yeah, right now, they don't have any plans that I know of for doing anything in those. Would be, the discontinuance would be from, to the right of way. And that's all we can do is discontinue to the right of way, based on the law, you don't want to go into cloud right away. So we would leave this, and what that may be is discontinued in the future, or it may be, continue the way it is to access. There's a question in my mind from a traffic standpoint, do you really need that if you are only supporting this movement here?
Well, that was brought up by a citizen at the last meeting. When a major sporting event rolls out of there.
I discussed that with Rajan and some of the crew at Norwich, just, there was the discussions was that, yeah, people use that, can we control traffic without that? And the answer is yes, we can control the traffic without it. It's not a critical tie, and in fact, there's some discussion that went the other way is, why do you need that? Does it help? Does it hurt? You know, so now you've got an intersection that you say, use it, University Drive to go to 12, but by the way, these people can go down and go south on 12 and hit 200 feet down the road, which creates more traffic issues than, you know, everybody's trying to get out. But Norwich felt a comment in Act 250, I think, talking with them on it, and we said Norwich has to commit to good traffic control in events. They always do, and they always will, and if they don't, it hurts them tremendously. You know, hockey games need attendance, events need attendance. So I think for now, no intent to do anything with it that I know of, and what Norwich is planning.
But you want us to give up .08, which is the length of Park Avenue here,
Correct.
all the way down to 12.
Yes. And some of the reason for that was if we give up part of it, why are we not cleaning that whole thing up? Just for all the fronts, the university property. all of it is part of the south entry. You know, and I could see us be walking in here 3 years from now and saying, we got all this, but boy, we could make this a much better entry to the south part of the campus if we had landscaping instead of pavement.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like looking to the future planning.
Well, I'm out of order again.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna step on his tongue. There are people who walk from the housing on 12A. We know this because they make a trail in the snow, and they're walking across here. So anything you do there has to take those people into consideration, or they will walk all over your landscaping.
Yeah, so if you look at, that's a good point, I think, that when you discontinue the road, you probably aren't going to change functions much for a while. The minute you start looking at eliminating that Y or narrowing the road or anything else, I think at that point, we have to come back into the town anyway and talk about all the site plan criteria as far as pedestrian access. And such. So I think that is a legitimate question that will have to be addressed. And it may be addressed in the discontinuance from the standpoint of here's Norwich's intent. You know, we understand that we will provide access. So I think that's something that we could work, see what Norwich's intent on that, what they would consider, work that with the town, and just say, okay, we know we're gonna have pedestrians. We're gonna provide for them in the future.
You good, John?
I'm done.
Lydia?
Well, in general, the ideas that are sort of being thrown around sound smart to me in terms of trying to straighten out the intersection of University Drive and possible increases of landscaping and green areas. I think I'm just confused at the sort of why now, and if it's not needed for the project, like my inclination would be further develop the ideas and let's talk about it then. Because nothing you're saying sounds like things that, they don't sound things like I would be opposed to, but I don't see the benefit to the town at this time and kind of, I guess, losing some of our stake in the conversation. I know you would have to come back to us to talk about some of the changes, but it would, yeah, if there's a compelling reason for why now, then I would be interested to hear that.
I think that the reasons are kind of reasonable in the fact that anything, if you start out with doing planning for the future, and you say, can we use this road? It's probably a big question when you sit down with any kind of planning team. And you look at everything from pedestrian access, we talked about that during the site plan, you know, okay, we got Route 12 access, pedestrian access, how does that work in the future? And all those things, and traffic and landscaping, and all those things have to tie into a plan for that area. And tying that road in, for example, if you looked at, it's not a super fast moving project, but I think that if you had funding, right now we don't have the funding to do anything with Park Avenue or University Avenue off of the site. It's a federal project and it's your funding. And that may change, funding may change. And I've seen Norwich over the years that all of a sudden they have somebody that says we'd like to see something happen in front of this new building. And to go through a process where you know, yes, we can go in and ask for this plan in a timely manner makes a difference. I don't think there's any downside from, I think you've got pretty good leverage on anything that goes there. You wouldn't do much without a good site plan approval and a conditional use approval and all the things you have to answer there, so. So I don't think the town loses anything, maybe gains a little tax money and a little less maintenance over the next 3 years if we don't do anything in 5 years. I think most of it's just the planning, and that's what struck me is when we sat there, when we said we don't need this to do the project. The architect said that we could do a better project with it. You know, landscaping in front of this, it doesn't take much, new sidewalks for the roadway, new things that you can do. So I think that's probably the downside of not getting discontinuance. It probably is gonna be a deterrent to jump into those during this project if it's positive things. And that was maybe just good planning and opportunities that might present themselves. But I do think their site plan, Northfield is really good to work with as far as everything Norwood does that I know of. They come in and say, here's what we'd like to do. And, you know, try to work through it that's beneficial to the town. You know,
I'm gonna step on her remarks and say, ask the question a different way. If you did receive, the throw up of the road, could the building, the proposed building be moved?
no, they wouldn't want to move the building.
They wouldn't.
No, and kind of the master plan is that one of the things they didn't want to do is intrude too far into green area. There's lots of feeling that approach needs. You don't need building. So I don't think there'd be any.
Well, you'd eliminate the road if you came up.
I think that if they eliminated the road, there's more of a question of them doing more landscaping or higher level improvements to make the building look better.
Well, was sort of my follow-up then. If you are gonna do enhanced landscaping, wouldn't you be reducing that road? Because I heard you say it probably is gonna stay the same, and then I heard you say enhanced landscaping. How would you accomplish the enhanced landscaping?
It may be nothing more than some of these traffic calming island types into it with landscaping on it. It may be a sidewalk improvement, maybe something that just really makes it look like not just a road in front of a building.
So the road being thrown up or not is not critical to the success of this project,
Really isn't.
only aesthetically.
I think it's, aesthetics, I think one of the things that, you look at that building that you presented, it's lots of effort been put into making a building that is the first thing you're gonna see for Norwich University now coming into town. And it looks good and it costs money to make it that way and time and effort. So that was, I think, goes with this is that, it's an important piece of land and the roadway is not the prettiest thing, and it may be there 10 years from now. You may be back asking for something else.
So I'm gonna ask Jeff the question, if we do go through this whole process, can we assign conditions?
I'd have to look into that, I don't think so. Yeah, my first thought is no, but I can look into that.
Okay.
You could change the, it's not the condition, it's the category of the road. And not lose ownership.
Take it down to a trail or,
You could take it down to 3 or 4.
I mean, it is a 3, so take it 4. Yeah.
But then you don't,
No, I was thinking more of traffic control.
right?
Because I know the traffic pattern there, 50% north, 50% south.
Right.
So you're turning, you're backing up traffic big time. With that turn to the right is a relief valve
Right?
going
No.
south.
Not use it often.
That's what was my thought process on that, that's all.
Yeah, I'm not sure that, which is certainly always interested in talking about what might work better.
Yeah,
If there's some,
it's all manpower and labor and money. We used to have a sheriff out there for every major event, we don't anymore. Any more questions for Ron at this point?
No.
Okay, so, what were you looking from the board tonight?
If the board wishes to start the process and convene a public hearing. Just,
Which would include a site visit.
yeah,
And so far, I haven't heard anything other than throwing up the road. We don't know what's gonna happen after that.
Well, that's what I sort of, do we have further questions that we need answers to before we start the process? Or should we start the process and then we have to, after deliberations, we say yea or nay?
Well, I think a better image for all of us of what the proposal is, a 8.5 by 11, so they could create a past poster board if we're going to go down that path, that would make it clear, what the intention is. And, I mean, this is pretty accurate, I understand it, but not everybody would, or may.
So better presentation materials if we do a site visit, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and this was kind of a first step type approach, just say, here's what we're thinking, and I think we talked about it a couple times, for all the hearings we've had in the town, we talked very briefly, this might be considered.
Right,
So this was to see, do we start the process,
yeah.
and certainly bigger boards, and these are challenging to read,
yes.
and be happy to do that, bigger boards with a little more.
So the board has no further follow-up questions that we want Ron to answer at this point, or Norwich?
I don't,
Mary, John? You're good?
Yeah.
Lydia? So we're gonna start the process.
Is that the consensus?
So I've been through, this will be my third one. So the board will have a lot more opportunity to ask more questions, and hopefully Norwich University, I know you're representing them, but Bijan or somebody from facilities will be at the site visit to facilitate questions. So do you need a motion, Jeff?
I wouldn't think so, just as long as there's consensus to start the process.
It sounds it.
the process requires a hearing.
Right.
Correct.
Right, you need, in order to have a hearing, you need to have a motion.
That's what I just asked.
Right, I make a motion to conduct a hearing for the potential of throwing up Park Avenue
And
University.
and University.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion. All those in favor of the motion say yes?
Yeah,
Yes, aye. I'm out of sync. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining. 500. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, and we'll take all this, I apologize for Sean, he has never done this
No, it's
in
probably
years I've seen him.
probably got an issue up. Yep,
Sometimes you're detained elsewhere.
yep.
How well
We
do I know?
understand.
Something came up,
Totally
we
understand.
couldn't get out of it, sure.
Just tell them to report to the upper parade ground, and we'll have them walk tours.
I'll also, got some good notes and some of the comments and thoughts and questions that I think will be helpful, and we'll certainly have better presentations.
Just tell them Colonel Cross will meet them at 0500.
Thank you, here's my letter.
So next on the agenda, Michael Kraus is here, representing Norwich Commons stormwater concerns. You have the floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you, first of all, pardon me, for having me. And thank you for taking down a tree that would have imperiled 19 residents Fernandez apartment and also at Norwich Commons during probably a winter storm, 30 below. That was usaged by the tree removal, and those residents are safe. So thank you, Jeff, and the board for doing that. And I'm really glad, Ron, that you're here tonight from Norwich University. I'm going to ask for help. That's why I'm here. The issue is stormwater. Stormwater that comes from Norwich University, where you have, I think, underground capabilities of stormwater coming from that location, and then when it overflows, going into Route 12, and then from Route 12 going into Route 12A, and then underneath 12A, going into a series of cisterns, and then through a culvert, and then a ditch that then empties in the back towards a trailer owned by Judy Backus and so forth. A quick history here. I hope everybody has gotten my note to Dave. Yeah, okay.
We have.
And so a quick review is we built Norwich Commons in 2006. We built it with a disbursement pond, but not for storm water coming from Norwich University, Route 12 and Route 12A, going through our property, but rather for, the engineer designed it for the parking area, so that when that was rained on with severe rain, then it would go into a disbursement area, disbursement pond, and go forward from there. With a decade more of severe rains that we've experienced severe flooding from Norwich University, from 12A, going through the cistern, and in turn, the culvert broke. It was rusted out. It was placed in there in 2006. It was metal, safety issue. That was done very, very on budget, on time, within 2 weeks of the cistern, not cistern, but rather the culvert breaking down. Trent Tucker did that work on budget, $21,000. In the past, there's been cost sharing on particularly the ditch and placing riprap in it to slow down the water. The town did that on Route 12A before it enters the cistern going underneath Route 12A into our Norwich Commons, a cistern, and then to slow the water down. I'm here to ask for help in, first of all, planning for storm water, whereas I understand you're building a new building, you're going to move some roads, all of that. Charlie asked the key question in my estimate: what's that going to do to absorb water if you're building a building that's got a roof, that's got parking places, that's got a increased road, that everything from the Kreitzberg building goes onto Route 12, onto Route 12A, and then through our property. It floods. There's damage. Slow the water down, plan for, and that's why I'm here for help, plan for creating water absorption areas that can slow that, and then on the Route 12A, put in more riprap and potentially cost share riprap in the ditch that, I hate to say, the town back in '68 agreed to maintain, and the cistern and the culvert. So that's where we are, and in a word, we've expended a lot of funds, a lot of efforts. There are 7 owners, including us personally, but there are 6 others. And $3,000, you don't kind of come at it and shake out of your arm and what have you. So that's been a real burden on owners, some young, some divorced, and others that are renting to Norwich students as owners, particularly during the hockey season and the lacrosse season and others. So my request of you is that we plan for decrease the speed of the stormwater coming into our Norwich Commons. And oh, by the way, from 12A, there's, through the Fernandez Apartments, that is a cistern, town maintained, and then again, a culvert that comes into our property. So my request of you is, can we cost share the 21K? That's the first question. The second question is, can we plan for reducing the speed of the water that comes through? And I have pictures. I mean, it just floods, and it's like a stream that goes through our property. Young kids, also small dogs, and what have you. Then your part can be, first of all, on Route 12, put in riprap and clean that ditch up. It was cleaned, I think, about 8 years ago. We cleaned up ours 10 years ago, but it's in need. And then...
Michael, can I interrupt? That's the one at 12A and 12?
Correct.
On the left side as you turn into 12A?
12A, right.
Got it.
Yeah, and it goes underneath. You've got a portion that's on 12A, that's about 150 feet, and then it goes underneath the road, and then comes into a cistern that slows things down. It's made for that. And then I think we have a 36-inch, maybe a 40-inch culvert that goes underneath our driveway, and then exits into a ditch. So if we can plan for, from Norwich's standpoint particularly, the well, doing what you've done in the past, build an underground facility underneath parking, and then let's figure out how to slow down the overflow. Do the same with the Cyber Fusion Center and its building, and go on from there. And then last but not least, do the same with the town, plan it, and then maybe, in my plea for help, do well, let's call it a riprap on our property in the ditch, but before that, riprap on the Route 12A, and potentially do a little bit of cost sharing. Questions?
Charlie?
Mike, I couldn't print out your PDF of your survey. I did see it. And I've got a big screen computer, so I could see it, but when I printed it out, it was just too small for me to read. So,
Okay.
but what I did see is the culvert comes from Route 12A where it crosses, and it goes across your driveway and goes into the back of the land. And that culvert was there originally to develop the A&W restaurant, home of my favorite sugary drink, where they would come and put your tray on the door and Dad would distribute the food. That building went away, that business went away, and then you had Diego's in there. I think it was called Papa John's.
Right.
Which was a place that if you had a baby or if you had a death in the family, someone would go to Papa John's and they would get a lasagna, and you would have a lasagna for the celebration of that. Those buildings last century were raised, and this deed that you have supported that culvert for that purpose. So those two properties could be developed. sorry. So the A&W could be developed and they would have parking and the drainage would, the drainage would go through that property, but to develop that property, the town, I suppose you've got the deed, took ownership of that. And it was of conditions when A&W was there, and these two restaurants were there. So it diverted the flow so they could put restaurants there, and then it went to the back of the property, and then eventually Northfield Commons was built, and then, or Norwich University built the apartment buildings, and then you, for the first time in a number of years, developed something in Northfield, which was, everybody enjoyed. But the culvert was there for the purpose of those two restaurants. It was not for any other purpose. So we now have a culvert that, if I understand, through the deed, Northfield owned, or at least was supposed to maintain. Do we have records who put it in?
I can get you a copy of the deed.
I've got the deed.
Yeah,
You
okay,
did
yeah.
send us that. And it says that, and the deed was accepted by the town clerk, and it was entered into the records. But has anybody looked back into 1968 or before that, who put that culvert in?
It was nothing we could look, or I could locate. I did look through the deeds back in 2017 when this issue was discussed, and
Did you look through the minutes
The
I
minutes
can't
are,
remember, we'd have to.
of the minutes prior to this 1960, this deed that Mike gave us in our packet? What was the date on that, Mike? Whatever the date of the deed was, I've got it here or something. The date of the deed was,
well, the answer to you, Charlie, is if it's there, we should find it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, if we're incomplete on the paperwork to have this discussion in my mind. Because if the minutes of the record, even if it's not in the minutes, it's gonna be in the budget. Somewhere, a culvert that size, going that distance, was expensed to the town, and it's gonna be in the budget. It may not be in the records that we have maintained currently, but it'll show in the town report, I suspect, that we invested in a culvert that was ungodly in length to divert water flow. That's the first question. Did we do that? And I'd like to know if we can find that paperwork out in the town records, that either there was a minute that the select board said we're going to do this. We should have the minutes. I know we have the town reports to see if we expensed that culvert. It should have shown up as an expense in the town report, because it wasn't a cheap culvert when we did that. So then, from there, we can have this conversation further that allows us to say, okay, and it can go, who knows what direction it goes. My sense is the direction is going to be, we're going to be able to substantiate that the culvert was installed by the town, paid for by the town, and it had failed. And if it failed, then, and it's ours, then we own it, in my mind. If there's something that shows that we can't prove it, well, but then the deed, we revert to the deed that says it's in the deed. Then we come back to the table and we negotiate what the cost sharing is going to be. But we have a culvert in the existing conditions that that your project were created in, those conditions existed. So, and they were created because of something that existed prior to your project. So there's going to be a disagreement, probably, we might come to an agreement, but there's going to be a discussion about what that means, and I think we should have it. But if the town owns that culvert, I think we ought to pay for the culvert. However, we don't normally let people change our culverts without permission. And if it failed, well, we've got a crew that can put culverts in. And that gets to now, I'm just gonna hypothesize what may come out of these discussions after we review the records in the town report. So I'll stop there.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll find those records and we'll invite you back once those records are discovered. And we have to own up that if there are no records and we can't find them in the town reports, then the only thing we have to go on is a deed. And then we have to have that discussion, what are we gonna do about that? So those are my questions, and that's my statement, and I'm sorry I brought A&W lasagna into
No,
the
I
whole thing.
love the story. I've been there,
We all have,
and Papa John's as well.
right? So, so there we have it. Thank you, Dave.
Mary,
I'm really in the weeds now when you talk about these things, but I did want to bring up, I can't remember the name of the thing that they have at the Green Mountain Family Practice Clinic. And catches water and slowly drains it through. What is that called?
Infiltration gallery.
Yes, well, can we consider those sorts of remedies as well?
I would think so.
Yes, so as part of the landscaping that you were speaking of, and when it was your turn to talk, and you were talking about, well, what might happen at the end of that park out, maybe we need to address this in that way.
I think that's a good, Norwich does have a state stormwater permit that requires compliance with 3-acre rule permitting, which requires on-site infiltration, on-site storage, and they're going through continuous permitting processes to meet those rules, which basically the intent is to control runoff from development sites. So that's going on now and has been going on for 20 years. That Green Mountain practice is a fine example of you really don't get much flow off of that site.
No, it's nicely done, and it's attractive.
know about that.
You know, that's normal.
Oh, you get rid,
So there's a lot of water coming off that hill right now onto the crescent, and it really backs up big time on Main Street, so. And Michael brings up a tremendous issue, the increase of volume of rain, plus the development that's happened at Norwich University is a contributing factor. There is no doubt about it, and it needs to be addressed.
I strongly agree.
there are permeable parking, I sent things to John, you remember that one when I was in California?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are doing it in more temperate in other climates where they have to deal with weather sort of like ours, and they're doing it there too. I've seen some. So there are more modern ways to deal with things that can amplify the good that culverts do.
Thank you.
John?
You keep talking about a cistern. And cisterns to me are for collecting rainwater. And I'm not sure what you're referring to as a cistern.
I may be using the wrong term, but there is a cement structure about 5 feet by 4 feet with the culvert that's underneath, that comes from the left side going south, left side of Route 12A and coming onto Norwich Commons. That's a square that in my estimate slows down. It can fill up and then go into a 36-inch culvert. It's got a 36-inch culvert coming in, but in case there is a backup, it fills. That's what I call a cistern.
Okay.
I'm not an engineer, John. But I commanded an engineering battalion, so I used the wrong term.
Okay, that's all I got.
Lydia?
I don't have any questions right now.
So, in your letter, you said you'd like to have a three-pronged approach, Norwich Commons, Norwich University, and the town, Have you reached out to Norwich other than tonight?
Not yet.
Okay.
I had wanted to, well, first of all, I took part in the utility
Commission.
commission. And then I said, at Jeff's advice, present to the select board. And then with that, I would reach out to Norwich University and begin that planning process. And from our standpoint, next issue, I think sooner rather than later, is the riprap to slow everything down a bit while we do the research that Charlie has recommended that you do.
So when you say riprap, on the 12A and then on the private property
Correct.
between the Fernandez and the Norwich Commons?
Right.
Got it.
And that then can alleviate flooding for the Backus family that's in the back. And that's why originally when we encountered this first off, we had really severe flooding. This would have been, well, in 2007, 2008, 2009. So we took some action there immediately, and I think you said we wanted to cost share that because we could have done it cheaper, and I said, well, I would have had to wait for 3 bids and so on and so forth. And that wouldn't have helped Judy Backus going out in waders. She's now retired from the bank. Her husband has not been well. So I look forward to really a tripartite effort here. The town.
Yeah, I think it needs to be addressed, and I think that's the only way we're gonna solve the problem.
I got it. If there are no further questions, I will retire and thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank
It's
you.
almost past my bedtime.
It's only 8:05. What are you talking about?
Become a selectman, your bedtime starts about 11.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Next on the agenda, approval of minutes.
Move the minutes.
Second.
Comments, questions, corrections? Charlie?
Let me get to them. I don't think I had any, but let me just see if I have my highlighter on them. I do not.
Mary?
Nor do I, I'm fine.
John?
I'm fine, thank you.
So I just have a comment, and we can take this up at, later, but have we had the input from Eric Raymond from the American Legion or Blake Pearson from the Gray Building?
No.
Okay. Further discussion on the minutes?
Excuse me.
Hearing none, all those in favor of approving minutes of August 13, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, 500. Next item on the agenda is approval of warrant. of
Move the
bills.
warrant 0425 and 0425A through E for a total of $178,098.96.
Second.
Moved and seconded, comments, questions, Charlie?
I'm good.
Mary?
I'm all right.
John?
On page 13, we spent
Yeah.
$72,000 for a leaf bank. Was it that bad?
Yeah, I think we discussed before and discussed during budget, the unit was in pretty bad shape and it had experienced some major issues, so they did try to do some major repairs and just felt that they couldn't. It was kind of scheduled to be replaced at this point. Yeah, we wanted to get jump on that as soon as possible. We did not go into the fall without a machine.
Do we have any warranty on this?
Yeah, there's 5 year.
Okay. Was it bid?
What's that?
Was it bid?
It was not, because we could not find anybody in the state or elsewhere to provide us, or could provide that service.
Okay. That's all I got, other than the 11 pages of HRA claims.
So, yeah?
I was just curious about when the ambulance was taking the ferry on, page 4.
Yeah, so they had reached out to me and said that there was a transfer over to Plattsburgh. So the crew really wanted to do that, and I did say I was a little nervous about that, but I did authorize it. So unfortunately, anytime there's been any transfers of a distance, they've been asked.
Is that it?
Yep.
All right, on page 4, I had $1,000 intercept we paid to Berrytown. Is that standard practice? Is that one intercept?
No, it's, as you know, when we don't have paramedics on staff or on call or available, we call Barry.
Understood.
Yep, and
So how many is that for?
they just raised the rates, I think that was for 2.
Okay, that's all you need. And then on page 13, something that came up, I don't remember seeing this before, is record restoration, $160 from Velsoft. Did we lose records or?
Thank you all.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
No, we have, the board has approved and we did implement putting the records online.
Yep.
And of course, like everything else, there is a service fee, so there is a fee.
So that's related to that,
Access.
not restoration of
Right.
material. I was concerned when our
Yeah, yeah.
stuff was getting destroyed.
No,
Okay, that's all I had. Further discussion on warrant? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving warrant 0425 and 0425A through E in the amount of $178,098.96, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? 500. It's the smallest warrant in a long time.
yeah.
Okay, payroll next, please.
Move to approve the receipt of the bi-weekly payroll through August 18th for a total of $123,792.90.
Second?
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving bi-weekly payroll through August 18, 2024 in the amount of $123,792.90, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? 500. Moving right along here. Select Board, American Rescue Plan Act funds request. So I asked the manager in the minutes, did we receive any updates from the two that were in the minutes the last time? It doesn't sound. But as you all know, we did receive a letter this week from the senior center, sort of telling us that the cost estimations were not thoroughly vetted and that they have a cost increase of $21,000 from the 28 we approved.
Right.
I believe it
It was
was
28.
28, yep. So, and there still is 2 more, well, there's that request plus 2 more that we haven't taken action on.
Well, we didn't hear anything from those other 2.
Well, we did. We did. No, I'm saying the senior center, they made 3 requests for funding.
Oh, okay,
And we
okay,
only took
okay.
action on 1.
Yeah,
So we need to obviously discuss this letter plus the 2 other additional requests. It was for HVAC and carpeting. And then in this letter also, she's asking for additional money for a grant match possibility.
Yeah, I'm reading that as like instead of, because the grant is for the HVAC,
Right, well, that's what I would like clarification.
so I think it's instead of paying.
So I deliver Meals on Wheels to senior center, and I had a discussion with Chilson, and the grant, the HVAC is gonna have a grant. They're looking for matching funds to achieve that, or take advantage of that grant.
I mean, we're not forced to take action on this evening at all. You know, I think the talk from the board was to see where we are flushing out remaining funds and what our priorities are.
I have some questions.
Certainly.
We didn't ask anybody else for estimates, you
Yes,
know, have
Yes,
we?
we did.
Okay.
Absolutely. The library
Oh, yeah,
and the
yeah.
renovation of the
Right.
kitchen.
Everybody.
Absolutely.
So, well, we don't have any estimates here. I don't see any estimate here.
So in the original request, there was.
But that's not good anymore, apparently.
Well, that's my
Their
question.
estimates were not fully accurate, as we know, that's how
So she's got a
estimates
better
go.
estimate? I'd like to see it.
So she
That's
wrote a
what-
letter to us on July 18th requesting 90,000. 28,000 for a new roof, which now she says is 49.
Yeah, that's the part, stop. That's the part I'm asking about. How do we know? Where's the estimate that it's 49? We haven't got an estimate for that.
Yeah.
To actually see what they got from
Yeah.
a company.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we've asked that. of
That
other
we
people.
haven't. What we've asked is to give us a budget summary of
Yeah,
their
we've asked for
project.
budget summaries,
Yeah.
but she's the one who brought up estimates, and that the estimate that they used in their original in their original ARPA request was too low. So now she says we have a new estimate, and I would like to see that. I would like to see what we're buying here.
That's not a problem.
The question I have is, why is it so expensive? Isn't that a fairly simple roof?
Well,
pretty
it is,
sizable.
so what, in our discussion, Friday morning, the original, quote was to replace the roof. That's it. Didn't include gutters, it didn't include plywood underneath the roof and making, and all the things, flashing and all that, it was just to replace the roof.
Just to replace shingles,
It's
basically.
tin, I think. So, but yeah, so they were gonna replace the tin, and then, through the process, they realized that, you know, you've got other things that, I might do something like replace a roof on a barn without budgeting for everything else. This is not a barn. This is a commercial property, and it needs to be, and you wanna get your bang for your bucks by having all of the, you wanna have the thorough job, not just the barn job.
But I would like to see it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And
certainly ask for it.
that would be one thing I would like to see. The other question I have is, with regard to the standalone water heater, did they consult with Efficiency Vermont on that? And,
We'd have to ask that question unless you have the answer for it.
I don't have that here.
yeah, so I'd like to know, was this recommended by Efficiency Vermont? Where did they get the idea that I thought, I'm confused at what kind of water heater a standalone water heater is.
Well, I can't answer that question, but a standalone water heater is what I have in my house.
Isn't that what everybody has in their house?
No, a lot of people have them attached right to their boiler
Oh, I see, okay, all right.
or an instant on.
Right, okay. I'd like to
Well,
know,
those are good questions.
I'd
and
like
we
to
can
know if
have
they
the
talked to
manager follow
Efficiency
up with
Vermont,
you. Right.
if they talked to Efficiency Vermont about that.
If I could add on to your
Yeah,
ask,
yeah,
I would like to inquire how they arrived at the original budget of, I think it was 28,000.
yeah,
How they determined that and what's the difference, and compare what they were asking
Yeah.
and getting there compared to what they're asking and, with this new cost.
yeah.
because,
And then the last thing I wanted to say about the $25,000 match. Somewhere else here, we have questions about providing grant matching funds. Do you remember that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so,
We were gonna earmark 200,000 or
Yeah, yeah.
approximately, right?
right, so I'm not sure that we should consider this separate match. And as you know very well, not all grants get granted, not all applications get
No, that's right.
granted. So I would like to point that out and say, look, I think we're gonna have some grant money, match money when it comes time to do matches. Let's see what you get.
I'm gonna skip you for a moment, John.
Are we
Lydia-
going in order? I don't know.
well, I think we're just having a conversation.
That's fine.
because
Okay,
Lydia,
well, I just have a comment on that, and then I will save my other comments for later.
yeah,
My understanding of the town having a grant matching fund would be for town grants. That was my personal
Right,
like, opinion of what that would be.
I
It would
think
not
that's
be a pot
wise.
of money that, like, everybody was coming to. That's me, we could, if other people
No,
saw it differently, we can have a
I think
conversation
you're
about that.
But this is quasi-town, but I understand totally what you're saying.
Yeah.
Infrastructure related to the
Yes, the
town.
senior center is
It's
a
quasi.
question, so it wouldn't necessarily be ruled out, but in general, that is
100%.
my understanding anyway. But I will save my other comments till after.
Anything else, Mary?
no, that's all.
John?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, yes, Charlie?
Just to point out, just so as this runs through my head, they have no director at the senior center right now. They just hired one.
They did, yeah.
You're right. So this whole process has been gone through
Volunteers.
with people that have no building experience at all. So
It's very evident.
right, thank you, all right.
We don't need to be schooled on
Sorry.
that one. I feel sorry for them, I really do, because they're a worthy organization in town, does great things. Hopefully they get a good director.
And that reminds me, I had one more thing. I spent a lot of time thinking about this. I was wondering, how much of this, like, was part of the Bernie grant? I call it the Bernie,
That's a
the
good
Bernie
question.
grant. How
That-
much
that
of this
is-
was part of the
That is
Bernie?
separate from the things that they're asking. That was a $150,000 grant that they got from Bernie.
Right,
To do what?
To do what? I
To
believe,
increase the size of the center.
correct.
Right,
To expand.
that didn't have anything to do with the water heater.
No.
No, this whole thing was premised on, the grant was sort of pushed ahead, then a request for hundreds of thousands in addition to the grant. Unfortunately, it just didn't meet mustard for our level. And my suggestion was if they had some projects that we could fund from ARPA that would benefit the facility, bring it back, and that's what was attempted with the $90,000 request. Now it's, again, so I think we should get these things flushed out, get it in writing, ask for a copy of the estimate. I think that's very good.
Both of us wanted to see,
Yeah,
so we can compare apples to apples.
How they arrived
just
at
we're
these numbers.
going through a vetting process, that's all. And then we'll make a decision, yay or nay. So we have approved 28,000 as it relates to a roof replacement. So my question then is, well, how about if the roof doesn't get replaced? What does that money do? That would be a question I'd ask.
I mean, it's very awkward. Once you've written a check, to try to pull that back, I think you have an extremely
Well,
difficult,
they
unless.
better get a roof on their building then,
I'm just saying, if, in the unlikely
and we
chance,
cut the check.
yeah, then it'd be awful difficult.
No,
Have we cut the check? Yeah.
Pardon?
we have, because it was for, yep, so they're gonna have, that's a problem they're gonna have to solve if we don't fund it further.
I'm gonna say what I think I've said a couple times, that I feel strongly that we have a small amount of funds left, and we have a significant number of projects that belong to us.
Yeah, we certainly do.
Like the retaining walls we've discussed. We still have the bleacher question, that's probably a small amount. We still had some questions out about the utility billing and possibility of a credit card system, and I think you were still researching whether there are other options. We have potential improvements to the common. We have the grant matching funds. And we have at times talked about, like, at least mounting the screen or some improvements to the technology in here. The owl's been great, but there seemed to be a lot of agreement that some changes would be. So anyway, I basically feel like I personally think we should stop focusing on external projects and focus on the remaining funds on some of these projects that we're responsible for. I feel awful. I mean, the senior center is all of them are wonderful, deserving, important. I don't know where you all are gonna stand on the roof. I like might be able to consider trying that, but I feel like we met their request and they're coming back again. It makes me a little uncomfortable. Like, and like you're saying, oh, what would it happen again, that this one was wrong?
Well,
We've made a significant contribution to their roof.
one thing I think that will come clear is once we have an explanation of how they arrived at these numbers. And I am talking, an estimate would have an estimated cost of soffits, drainage, and square foot. I think the square foot thing is a reasonable, is an answer that you would be interested in seeing.
Okay. Well,
Once you get those numbers, you can have that discussion, you can
Yeah.
say the same thing you're saying tonight.
yeah, well, and in general, I don't wanna consider the HVAC or the other ones. Like the roof in my mind was kind of like, so we're at the end of this part. I would like to wrap it up.
So, that being said, like I said before, we should take action on other requests that are still pending. So we can tell the manager to send formal letters saying, thanks, but we're not funding.
We're tapped out.
I think if that is the spirit of the board,
Yeah, I don't know if I'm alone on that. That's where I'm at, but.
No, I don't think you're alone at all.
no,
I was thinking about
don't
that.
either. Because, no, I don't either. I do have a little, but I can make a decision not to fund further roof, but, maybe we should consider that additional, but nothing else about the roof. And I do think you have a very good point. We have a lot of capital infrastructure problems we could fund with the remaining balance and taking some of the interest into a grant fund for municipal grant uses. So, you want to address the gray building?
I don't know what to do because I feel like
Well,
at
we
our
asked,
last meeting, we asked them for information, but we didn't give them a deadline, I don't
well,
think.
we can give them a deadline tonight, or we can just say, sorry, we've made a decision as a board, we have no more funds. And you preluded to that, I mean, you
Yeah.
really did. I would prefer taking action, you know,
But I just don't know if they've left feeling like we weren't gonna decide until they gave us more money. I'm not sure what do you think was communicated?
well, I can tell you how I would feel. If I was going to a board and the board said, give me more information, it would be on the board's desk within 3 days.
And I did have follow-up.
That's what I think too.
And you did have follow-up conversations, so.
Okay.
You had follow-up conversations in what direction?
Just saying, just the board's really coming down to the 11th hour.
And they said,
Yep. That Yeah, they'll work on it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, they worked on it. We didn't hear anything. I think we're done.
Yep.
All right, so the gray building enhancement and historical preservation request, you want to take a motion on that?
I move that we deny that request with regret and move on.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion.
I'd like to have more information. We asked for it, we haven't gotten it. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means that they've had to have an engineer go in there, because I brought up the coal chute. And it was apparent to me that Blake didn't know about the coal chute. And so he may be doing some subterranean, and a coal chute that's was around when I was in that school may not be something that is accessible to be determined, and that's why you can't. But I'd just like to wait for, to see the response and give them a deadline.
Well, but we're saying we don't have enough money to even consider anything, I thought.
That's what I was
thought.
saying, but
That's what
then
I thought.
a bunch of people asked for more information at the last meeting.
All right,
They didn't.
so we can handle it one of two ways. We can take a vote on it tonight, or we can go back and make a formal request with the deadline of next week, that we need that information for our next meeting.
Yeah, I feel, had we told them that at the meeting that we didn't have more questions and we didn't have funds, I would have been fine with
No
that.
problem, and we can do the same thing with the American Legion.
Yeah, I think
So-
that'll be the best in terms of giving them the
Yeah.
feeling that they were,
But isn't this the second time we've had a buy on this, or was it? No, American Legion was last meeting?
Yep.
And these guys were last, yeah, all right, 2 weeks,
I-
3 weeks.
I have one point to make, and that is when we asked questions about all the other projects, we got responses within the time period we.
Reasonable time.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's entire,
Well, we can argue that point to ad nauseam. We're gonna table the Northfield, or excuse me, the Gray Building and the American Legion with the manager reaching out to both with a deadline for the information that we requested. And then, okay,
yeah, and tell them we will be
so.
potentially making a decision at the next.
Who made the motion?
I
Can you withdraw
made-
the motion?
I withdraw the motion. I was just gonna ask you, is that a friendly amendment?
No, that's not. Just withdraw the motion.
I withdraw the motion.
There you go.
Do you mind?
No.
Okay.
All right, thank you, good discussion.
We could
Um,
discuss the senior center ones other than the roof if we wanted to.
Well, which one are you talking about? Because
They had three, right? The carpets,
Well-
the, oh, right.
it's part of this request for the second item, so I'd say,
Well, my personal opinion is I'm ready to deny them, so it doesn't matter to me too much whether it's the grant match or the
Yeah.
original request for the, but others may feel differently, so that's fine.
well, maintaining a building's roof is the most important thing of all. And we have funded almost 50% of the quote-unquote estimated cost. That's pretty good. And we do not have to deny the request for 21,000 more, but we can deny the request for the carpeting and the HVAC, if that's your pleasure.
I will make a motion that we deny the request from the July 18th for 36,000 for HVAC and 26,000 for floors and carpeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded, further discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion of denying the senior center's request for 36,000 for HVAC and 26,000 for flooring, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
I shall abstain.
Very good, so it's 401. All right, let's go to the master list. Which, did we receive an updated one in our packet today? Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
have
we
time
did.
to put it in my. I have it. There it is. All right. Let's go down the road, just 600,000 improvements for sidewalks, 100,000 in the budget, it's approved for 500 from ARPA. Forward. We approved 40,000 for the common project study, which we're starting to receive reports on. Installation of generators, we approved for 100,000. Bleachers at Memorial Park, we're waiting for further information on, is that correct?
Yeah, just a price, I've got prices on just a mobile unit.
So can you have it at our next meeting so we can take action?
Yeah.
Where are we at with retaining walls?
So I did engage the services of an engineer to go ahead and give an assessment of the wall at the corner of School and Pearl Street. Initial thoughts were kind of in between as to whether it needs to be replaced or if there can be just finish work. But again, they'll go ahead and come in and do an assessment of that. So again, we're getting that.
And is that the number one wall that we could address with potential ARPA funds?
Yeah, I mean,
And since we have 100,000 in that fund already?
yeah, I mean, the timing may not be such that you could do it by December, but again, you could as part of, I think what you may end up doing is at least a resolution on a manageable, smaller amount of funds, so you could make that transfer to
Into
that,
the
right?
budget
Yeah,
process. But there's no other retaining wall project that could fit the criteria.
What about the Vine Street retaining wall? It's gonna be disturbed by the sidewalk.
yeah, so I just kind of wrote that into the sidewalk project
Already
because the
included.
sidewalk, excuse me, will clearly impact that, so it would be, and I talked about, with the engineer about that, so it would make sense to make that a part of the sidewalk project.
And you feel confident of the monies that are set aside for that?
Yeah, I mean, we were out there looking at that wall, it's fortunately, it's not that high, and it's, you know, it's got some length to it, but again, it's, you can see it's being barely overly complicated.
Okay. So the amenities on Wall Street, we have approved 150,000 for a local project match. Continue to support and assist economic activities, including full-time, which is already in the budget. I mean, is that correct, or do we need to take action on that?
So the funds,
I think for the year going forward, we would need to,
yeah, like a third, I think the last third.
Yeah.
is right.
it's like,
So it'll be 62?
it was on the bottom, I think, of, no,
In the-
it's,
Yeah, I do remember that, yep.
not this one, no, it's,
I have
it's
everyone.
here somewhere. Let's see. Is it separated by years in some places?
Yeah, I think this was the last,
This is it.
That's an overage one, that's that's,
But it also right below it is 32,000.
oh, okay, yep, you're right,
so about,
that's it.
about a third.
Yep,
So fiscal year 24, 25 should be 32,000, not 62,000.
No, it's for 25, 26 is 32.
Oh, okay.
It's on the ARPA summary from 719, at the very, very bottom,
Okay, uh-huh,
So-
yeah.
so how do you recommend we proceed with this? And the goal is checking it off the list, folding it into The
Yeah, that-
budget using,
Yeah, using, I'll come up with an exact number, but yeah, whatever's needed to meet your goal of the split, you'd want to roll into the.
so we should set aside the 32.
Yeah,
Right, but that would it need to be part of the resolution if we have one, so that, because it's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
past the December?
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's 32 in it,
Yeah.
that's
because the
32 in
budget-
addition to 62?
No,
62 was for 24, 25. so-
Did that come out of ARPA money?
yes.
Yes.
I believe we, yeah,
We
approved.
Okay,
approved that during
okay,
budget
I
season.
remember
Yeah,
that
because
now.
this year it'll be
Okay,
different because the
So it'd be
budget.
32K more.
Yeah,
Yeah, this year is different because the budget will be developed and approved after the
Okay.
December deadline.
yeah.
All right, well, glad we're on the same wavelength. We approved 20 grand for digitizing municipal records. We're still up in the air on
The billing, yeah, we'll definitely have something. I've got Doug and Lori working on
Okay.
alternatives versus the one. Yep.
I hate that side.
and we are continuing the matching grant goal of 200,000. Everything else has been approved, except for the gray building and.
The farmer's market,
Do you have news on that yet?
not yet. Well, I've told you this, we've been declined, or we've been denied.
Yes,
And the question is whether the PDF that was submitted with the project scope was submitted correctly. And one of the parties say that the scope should have been on electronic form. The other party says a PDF is fine. And now they've gone to the funding mechanism and said, made sure, has asked the question whether that PDF made it to them. And if it hasn't, hey,
they've spent.
my prediction is that 7,500 is gonna come back to the ARPA funds. But it's not, that answer has not been,
We don't know for sure.
yes.
Well, good on you for fighting anyway.
At least it's 7,000 and not 7 million.
Yeah, well, and we should find out somewhat soon about the Wall Street, because that could throw 150 back
Yeah.
too.
I think that's pretty much it. Very good. For tonight. All right. Next item is public hearing for disorderly conduct ordinance revision, Mr. Manager.
Yeah, we just did put this on the agenda just as a, a reminder that, we have set that hearing for that date.
Oh, yeah. That's it?
Yeah.
Town manager's report.
I won't spend too much time going through what I've written down. In addition to what I've written down, I'm pleased to announce that the first two sections of the improvements for the Falls pedestrian improvements are expected to go in tomorrow or Tuesday. So it'll consist of two 10-foot sections to start that, and then that'll connect with what the state's doing, and then this week, hopefully get moving on the rest. But again, the first couple of sections where it meets, where the new sidewalk is, part of that will go in where it connects with
At
the.
5:05 this evening, I saw a meeting of the mines down there.
Yep. So that's good to get that rolling.
So it's either tomorrow or next Tuesday. Is that what you just said?
No, I'm sorry, either
You said
tomorrow,
Tuesday.
I'm sorry, let's see, either tomorrow or the next day.
Thursday, very good.
Yeah, I apologize. Let's see, that's right, I did mention, I did engage an engineer to start looking at the retaining walls. Labor Day, the employees have been out doing a great job weed whacking. Got to get them up on Central Street to get up there, but they've done Main Street, done all around the Common. They're going to be cleaning the fountain tomorrow. So, yep, really making an effort to spruce things up and get everything ready. So we are pleased that Norwich is providing a stage this year In years past, the town has had to use this old ancient stage, and it's such a clunker, but fortunate Norwich will be providing that, delivering that, so,
That's excellent.
yeah, so they're very nice to do that, so,
Is that the stage on the common for,
yeah.
okay.
Good job.
Everything else?
Whose idea was
Yeah.
that?
What?
Whose idea was that, to ask North for a stage?
The new,
Observances Committee?
yeah, or I guess the chair of that committee, Miss Bean, Andrew,
Good.
made that reach out.
She seems like a hot ticket.
Yeah, she
And-
is.
Yeah.
She seems pretty
She
good.
is very good. And her husband works there.
Yeah, that helped.
I should say significant other. But my tongue. Board members, comments, concerns, questions, Charlie?
I missed it the first 20 minutes of tonight's meeting. Thank you for not holding me in contempt.
Well, you're making you sit in the corner later.
So one of the questions I had was, we've had the Center for Cyber Fusion, or the Fusion Center. And then on the news recently, it was called the Leahy School of Fusion. Did he mention anything about that? Did Ron mention that?
Not tonight.
All right, so the other thing, second thing is, school's back, there's a lot of new pedestrians. I discovered them walking in the evening sun as I was racing down to get to this meeting. And I just wanted to remind everybody that the pedestrian traffic has been increased considerably.
Yep.
And the third thing is, Lydia, you want me to take the community capital thing on?
Sure.
All right. So the business that started this review of the,
Thank you for doing that, because I'm lost when I saw that.
Yeah, me too.
all right, so we all know the history, right? That,
The revolving loan
the
fund?
revolving
So
loan fund.
this is what this is in replacement of?
Right,
Well, it's a different structure potentially to consider.
Oh, okay.
And we do plan to have somebody from that organization come and sit.
that's what,
Good.
we'll get there. So, this is a derivation of what we had in place before. And, it has a nonprofit group that is associated with the, not USDA, it was the Small Business Small Business Administration.
SBA.
That is going to, we're asking to asking the next meeting for them to come and describe this program, which is, you take that $20,000 that we have remaining, or you take any amount, you could increase that if you wanted to, and and that money goes into a pool. The pool is going, that let's just say $20,000, is going to earn 8% interest on the loans. It's that plus prime, they have a set price over prime, right?
Yeah, although it did sound like there's a little variability depending on the credit and the,
There it is.
Right. So the town is not gonna just pocket this money and not get anything back. You're going to be earning interest on this money, but not at the rate of interest that we would if it was with the rest of our money.
I think it's great.
So, they are,
Somebody will take advantage of this.
yeah.
that's the idea.
It's
They
been
have,
20 years.
the numbers and the operations of this program are going to be explained by the principal when he gets here in detail, and hopefully he'll have handouts and all, but he sounds like he's interested. What other communities have done, they've all had, they were all fortunate to have bankers on their program. We don't have a banker on the program, and it was too expensive to borrow the money the way it was structured. So this
But you
takes,
can have bankers on the program.
Well, it was like, they had in their municipal staff, they had people
Got it.
that were, yeah, and so they were already doing a job in their town.
Yeah.
And they were able to just use their previous experience to
Got it.
run the revolving loan funds. And that was in like Hartford and,
So is this the name of the organization, Community Capital of Vermont?
right,
yes.
And is there an umbrella organization above this, like the Community community fund?
I think they're a standalone 501c3.
Very good.
And that's a question, so we're gonna invite them here. I feel that this is much better than the path I thought we were gonna be going down, which would be signing a committee from this board to do this without any banking experience. I think Lydia agrees that this is probably the next best step to get the money out there, because you remember that the business that started this review was 6 months ago. And they are looking relief for the loan not offered by conventional lending agencies, and that's what this bridge does. This is a bridge for people that are running on credit cards. They don't have the access to the banks, and this does it, and it has a very low, unsuccessful rate.
Good.
So,
Look
next
forward
meeting.
to it.
And so the reason we put this in here is so you guys can ask the questions.
Will do. I had no idea what it was about.
This is generated by Tom Davis after he went through and did his homework with all the surrounding communities. And so if you have any questions about money that we're thinking about making available to small businesses, this is kind of the outline for how it works. Anybody got questions on it?
Is this another ARPA request?
No?
Why does it say use 50,000 to 100,000 ARPA funds?
Well, it could be, because we've got $20,000
So it could
in
be.
this fund.
Okay,
And
just
if
want to
you-
know.
And if
We only have 20?
Yeah,
we used
Well-
to have 40, but we,
not in the economic development fund, but in the revolving loan fund, we had 20, and then we had that grant
Yep.
that matched it,
And it
but we
went away.
lost the
Lost the
grant.
grant, yep.
So the 20 was remaining, but there's more than that in the economic
Correct.
development fund.
It's probably.
So, okay.
Not a ton, but.
Can you give me an example of the kind of loan that might be asked?
well, there's a small business that started up, I'll say 5 years ago. And they had a heart attack, a truck fire, and they started living on credit cards. So they're not going out of
That's yours.
business, they just had hard times 6 months ago. And they approached knowing that there was this fund, but the fund had expired.
Yeah.
Because, so this is a way, so if a company needs to, as it says, get off their credit card living, which is now credit cards, anybody know what a credit card interest is right now?
Oh, it's awful.
It can be up to 23, 24.
Really?
Mine's zero.
Farmers stay away from two things, credit cards and lawyers. So this provides an opportunity to get a loan, so you're not paying those high interest rates and pay it off at a lower interest rate.
This sounds a lot like the old debt consolidation things that Capstone used to do.
Don't know. Was it a six, why did they used to do it?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather imagine it's because the federal government stopped giving them a lot of money for OEM.
So at some point, we will have a formal
But don't get me
presentation to us.
Hopefully it'll be the next meeting. Thank you very much. And
Thank you
So
very
this
much.
is-
and ask your questions to them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
thank you.
Tom said I asked him a question, and he said there was a conflict with the 10th, so it'll be the second meeting in September.
And I got a question.
What's,
24th.
Well, it says here, Thomas should present to subcommittees, so it's gonna be meeting with the select board, not the economic?
This came to the subcommittee. We proposed that the principal of this group come to the select board as a whole.
Yeah, this is what he gave us at the subcommittee meeting, that was he's already achieved that next step.
So we're talking about the September 24th select board meeting, okay.
okay, is that what it is, the 24th? Thank you.
Mary, you're up.
Yes, I have a couple of things. First of all, when I was helping with the voting, primary vote, it was brought to my attention that we used to have a nice voting banner going across the street, and now there isn't one, because I think it was TDS's banner. But anyway,
No,
it
it's
was.
our banner. They used to put it up.
Oh, they used to put it up, and nobody put it up. So it was remarked that nobody would know that there was voting this day unless you were a political junkie like me.
Oh, yeah, it's been recent. So I have a suggestion that we, reach out to Transvideo, to put it up for us.
All right.
I think they would be very receptive to that.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have some sandwich board signs too, or, I feel like,
Well, that's Kim Supplies,
okay. And the town had the banner.
banner,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah, I definitely agree that we could do a better job with
Yeah.
announcing that.
Hello, voting today,
Yep.
do, everybody
100%.
knows where it is.
So it should be on a tick list.
What'd you say, Ken?
The primary vote, there were very few contested offices. That's probably why people didn't.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right, I
It's
agree,
in November.
I agree, but it doesn't hurt to notify things
I
to
agree.
people. Voting today is a nice
So-
thing.
Thank you.
Find out where the banner is.
Yeah,
If
it
you
was,
don't find it, I'll call
it
her.
was a very, very calm election, that's for darn sure.
He's in town.
And the other thing
He's not with TDS.
Oh, but I know where he lives.
Order.
it's okay, I'll just wait.
Sorry, Mary.
Oh, that's okay, I'll just wait. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to say is that, in your packet is, the town common revitalization design stuff. Okay, so we're going to be down on the common during Labor Day, and I would like for you to come, particularly on Saturday afternoon when I will be there, but there will be people there throughout the day and into the evening. And then the following day as well, and you get to look at 3 proposed designs.
Which are fabulous.
And yeah, I could live with any of them. I had my favorite, but I could live with any of them. And I thought these people did an excellent job, and they certainly got everybody's opinion, or tried to solicit everyone's opinion. So please come down and tell your friends and neighbors. And I believe that is the only one other thing is that I am looking forward to seeing construction happen in the falls.
Yeah, I know.
I'm hoping after Labor Day, I've been looking at the markings on the pavement and hoping for that to happen, and hoping with all my fingers and toes crossed, that this will have a psychological effect on drivers who are buzzing through my town in incredible speeds, including on those little crotch rockets that they ride.
Elroy.
You could, huh?
Elroy.
I don't own one.
Elroy doesn't own one, but he can attest, because they really reach maximum volume, I think, right in
Oh,
front of
yes,
his
well,
house.
as they go by my house and your house.
I hear in front of my house all the time, motorcycles.
Yeah,
Taxis.
each side of town gets the,
And it's usually one night when, I won't say a business holds the car show and the creamy show and the Rocket J show,
Yeah,
which is great to see.
yeah, so that's all.
I don't hear
I'm-
those noises.
No, I bet you don't, you hear coyotes.
We'll be
Uh,
sending them up your way.
Yeah, I'll give them a map, if they'd slow down. So that's all I have.
John,
There is also a survey for the common
let's
committee.
ask
Yes, there
that,
is.
let's ask about that.
What about the survey?
So it was posted on Facebook the other day,
Yes.
and there was 20 posts that is inoperable. So can
Yeah.
you walk us through how it's gonna work?
I think it's because it had on there the date, August 31st is when the survey
Yes.
starts.
Okay, so that is the reason why it wasn't active
That's why it
yet.
didn't, it wasn't, it
So
wasn't
can
hot.
you walk us through the process then? We scan the QR code, and do you have to prove you're a citizen of Northfield? Do I have
No,
to pull
you
my
do not.
passport out?
You get asked though.
Yes, you get asked because we wanted to know who thought what. But anybody can answer the
So
survey.
it's anonymous or identified?
It's anonymous.
Okay. Those are the only questions I had, but thank you for that, John.
Yeah, thanks, John. That's all. I'm done,
You're done.
I'm done. I just was saying, that's all I have.
The police car at 12 and 12A doesn't have anybody in it. I think it ought to go to some other places
Yeah, I think it's run its course.
Just run its course up there.
Yeah, so I did have a conversation with the chief. As we said, he was requested by a number of folks, so I said, I think it's run its course, so we did have that. So particularly, it will not be there for Labor Day weekend.
Was there tonight, so
Yeah, we had that conversation, but, yeah.
I guess since we're down to two police officers,
Yes,
we have an extra vehicle available for doing this.
yeah,
Okay. One of the short-term goals we had was painting the covered bridges.
yeah, we're starting to put together quotes. That's, one, is gonna be hard to find somebody, and two, it's gonna be very expensive, but yeah, we're getting quotes for that.
Okay. Or estimates anyway.
Yeah.
Why did you look that up? Yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you, John. Lydia?
Would that be too slow for ARPA funds to be a source of,
Would it be what?
too slow for ARPA funds to be a source of supporting the painting of the bridges? Or do we already have enough
Yeah, no,
set aside?
yeah, budget's kind of tight on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have the painters shown up for the pool?
Yes,
Yay.
so, actually, they were there today. First step is to, power wash. Yeah, so they were there, I was thrilled.
Awesome. I just wanted to say thank you to finally getting the striping done. As a pedestrian, I definitely noticed that cars are more apt to stop when they can see that there's a crosswalk. So it's been nicer to walk around. I've had a lot fewer cars going
Yeah.
by.
I didn't see that at lunchtime today. It says cars go through.
I know, well, not always. There's no I don't know what the perfect
Well, can you
situation
just
would be.
jump out in front of the car and make it stop?
Oh.
Don, you're Superman.
I just wanted to put in everybody's mind, just the thing that's, I spent a lot of time up in Cheney Field and, knowing that we're replacing the water tanks, there's a giant patch of, invasive knotweed that's up there, and I don't know whether it could work out
there?
from probably, the most likely source of spreading it is usually mowing equipment.
Yeah.
So it was most likely, I mean, it's really hard not to
Mercy.
spread it, but, probably that's how. But anyway, I just want to put in everybody's mind that if it were somehow possible, while there's heavy equipment up there, because mechanical removal of it would be, potentially something to consider while there was heavy machinery up there. I don't know, I mean, otherwise you're dealing with, it's really difficult to get rid of. And if we did that, we'd probably still need to have a plan to go after little bits that sprouted up again. But it's like doubled in size in the last little bit.
It should be
and
addressed.
It's really,
Oh, our whole backyard was full of it when I bought the house. I
Yeah.
just put black tarp over it.
yeah,
4 years later, it was all gone.
well,
Wow.
that's
Yep.
great.
It was
Yeah.
in somebody else's.
And obviously we
yard.
No,
can't
it
get
just
rid of
died
it
right out.
along the entire river, but I feel like there's certain places like Dog River Park where they're making a real effort, and somewhere like Cheney that we could actually prevent it from,
Well, I'm
From
seeing it
spreading there,
proliferate on 12.
yeah, it's
It's
just,
just out of control.
I just had some removed.
yeah. Anyway, just wanted to put that in everybody's
Yep.
minds as something to think about. And I also want to announce that there's another race being put on by the Norwich University cross-country coach at the Shaw Center called the Anchor Challenge. It's a 6-kilometer race on Alumni Weekend. It's the Friday evening, September 20th at 5:30 p.m. It's a great challenge. Last year was the first year, and there were a whole bunch of Northfield cross-country kids from the high school, middle school, as well as folks from,
Yeah, you made a
Norwich.
presentation, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So that'll be happening again. And then just, I think Jeff, you told us when East Street's getting paved, but I have forgotten.
Oh, the paving of roads?
Yeah,
Right now, they're saying, last couple of weeks in September.
okay. I think that's all.
Very good. So I'm gonna piggyback off East Street. I've had a couple of concerns raised about the blocking of traffic to one lane. because we have to, the business is making room because of construction, are we rectifying that?
They were moved back, they were pushed back
Did we
today.
get the plates on or whatever we got to do?
Yeah, well, it wasn't plates, but it was another material, but yeah, they pulled
Okay,
it,
good.
they pulled it all the way back today.
That's good to know. I'd just like to publicly thank Norwich University and General Broadmeadow and his wife Karen for hosting the community event.
That
It
was
was
nice.
nice to hear that all 5 members of the select board attended. I was only there for about 30 seconds. I had just driven from Connecticut, having to go to Jack Barofio's funeral. So thank you, Norwich. Goals. So that will be on our agenda next. We have a lot. I thought this might calm down, but we have a lot. So we'll have goals recap on our agenda the next meeting. We'll see where we're at. Public participation unscheduled.
I would like to see it put black plastic over that, knotweed,
On Lover's Lane?
on Lover's Lane, around the,
It works.
around the reservoir. It does, 'cause if the sunlight can't get to it, the plants die.
It really does. It takes a while. You
Yeah,
can't
4 or
remove it
5
the
years.
following year. It took us 4 years. We left it 4 years,
Yeah,
but it was nothing.
but that's what everybody suggests, is you gotta keep it covered for 4 years. And the easiest way is to put down the black plastic, then cover it with mulch so it doesn't blow off.
Yeah, or something weighing
Yeah.
it down.
Yeah. That way mud and water don't get to it, it just dies.
Anything else?
I'm happy.
Good, thank you. Anyone participating online? Okay. We will be going into executive session regarding the legal matter and contract matter after a brief recess.
Move to go into executive session after 5-minute recess.
Second. Moving second, further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that's your popcorn.
Abstained? We
That's
are
my
in
popcorn, thank you.
executive
You know, I know you have a hard time finding supper on Tuesday night.
Oh, nice. Well, we remedied that, but thank you very much for the time.
session. Yeah, but I can copy that letter.
We had that jerk checking today.
the audit thing?
I would like a copy of it at your convenience, we'll put it in the mail.
Need remote access for the executive session?
Nope.
Okay, just turn off.
So I'm sure TDS has the vote banner.